Hey folks, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Andy Graham. One more time from Memorial Stadium this year, and one more loss at Memorial Stadium this year. Indiana falls 33-25 to Purdue, and Purdue gets the bucket back and gets in a bowl game, or at least becomes bowl eligible. I don't know how many tie-ins they're going to have and how that's going to shake out, but one way or another they were available. And so a little bit heartbreaking for Indiana. Saw some of the same things we usually see. Also saw.
It was actually one of their better performances.
It was
the latter part of the year.
It was definitely one of the better performances. Probably the worst team they played in more than a month and a half. But I guess we'll just get straight to the call that everybody's going to talk about. Basically, everybody's probably going to say this was the reason. Had seemed like a simultaneous possession situation. Trey Roberson throws one up deep down the middle of the field to Nick Stoner. He gets tangled up with the Purdue defender, and I can't remember even who it was. Was it Josh Johnson?
It was, I believe.
Yeah, Josh Johnson, and Johnson rips it out of his hand when they're on the ground. It seems like they came down with it together, which would be simultaneous possession and stick with Indiana and the offense, but officials didn't see that. Yeah, officials didn't see it that way, and also said it was not reviewable. They said something about the position on the field, which did not make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me.
No, Kevin talked about dynamics and standards that they are allegedly guidelines that govern that kind of thing, but it sounded like he wasn't given a really good explanation and therefore wasn't able to pass one along to us either.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think Dennis Lipsky, the referee, was the same guy who headed the crew up at Michigan just a couple of years back when there was a similar simultaneous possession play, and they reviewed the heck out of that. And they looked at it, however many times for like 5 minutes, and then decided what they decided up there. But I don't know. It's one play, and I would have given Indiana the ball, produced 22, and they're 8 points down, so a TD and a 2-point conversion, and maybe we'd still be watching football if that was still going on. But Purdue had like 508 yards of offense, and Indiana had 354. I have to look it up again.
354, yes.
354. And so, here's the thing. I mean, both teams averaged exactly 5.9 yards per play, but Purdue ran 86 plays and Indiana ran 60. And that was the frustrating element, I think, from IU's point of view, was that once again, the defense was unable to get off the field on third down. Purdue converted over 50% of its third down opportunities.
11 for 20.
And Indiana wasn't bad. Indiana was 6-14, but Purdue had time of possession. They were able to keep the ball. One thing that we noticed up here in the press box was that I had a flashback. Guys my age can actually remember this. I had a flashback to Terry Cole in the 1967 game when he went right up the gut untouched for a 50-yard plus touchdown, which is what Stephen Houston did to get the scoring started today. The first touchdown of the game was partying the Red Sea, and off you go. And then and he averaged. By the end of the game, his average 18.4.
But he only got
seven
carries, 129 yards.
He only got 7 carries, and here's the thing. I mean, one can question, there weren't enough read option plays where he was given the ball, or there were not enough plays dedicated calls to give him the ball. But Indiana only had 60 plays.
Yeah,
that one of the reasons he only
there
had
wasn't a lot to go around. I mean, Trey Roberson finishes with 18 carries. He had the most, but D'Angelo Roberts has 4, Nick Stoner has 1. They threw the ball 26 times.
Right, but there just weren't. There were only 60 snaps.
Yeah,
and so
exactly. They didn't have the ball a lot. Purdue had a huge time of possession advantage, 35 minutes to 24.
Right.
That was pretty significant. Again, it does come back to let's look at both of those points. First off, defense couldn't really get off the field at all, and that's obviously an issue that they've had for a lot of the year. And today was some of the same things you've seen before, but maybe a little bit worse, maybe a little bit more frustrating. There was a couple of situations there seemed to be getting a half decent pass rush, but had a quarterback, be it Turbush, be it Robert Marv, were able to step out of protection, of containment, and get a first down. That happened a lot of times today, that they were able to just kind of skirt out of the pocket, look out, and not see a whole heck of a lot in front of them.
And that'll happen sometimes with man coverage, but I don't know that IU was in man coverage all the time. But
no.
All the time. But it happened too often.
Mm-hmm.
And so from about midway through the second quarter till about midway through the fourth quarter, Indiana basically did nothing offensively. And that's when Purdue took control of the game. But I mean, here's something that really struck us too, was in the third quarter, probably the biggest upset of the day was there were no points scored.
Yeah,
and that was
the first time in 29 quarters that Indiana opponent did not score a point.
Correct, and so the game. We look at the middle quarters as when Purdue took control of the game.
Mhm.
But once again, if Indiana generates a little offense there, maybe not.
Right, they take advantage.
But really the issue was, Purdue started that one drive on the 5 and went like 17 plays, 18 plays, whatever the heck it was, and went like 81 yards. And they only ended up getting a field goal. I mean, Indiana's defense stood up in the red zone and stopped them. But all of that time with possession, that means that Trey Roberson, Stephen Houston, those guys are sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah,
and so that was really, I think, the big issue for me was, once again, the defense wasn't quite able to make plays, even like when it's 3rd and 26 or whatever.
Right.
Make a play, get off the field, and they weren't quite able to do it.
No, that was obviously the critical thing, and defense has been the problem all year. And again, I mean, I don't know how, this is probably at least 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 times they've given up 500 yards of offense or more. There haven't been many times that they haven't given up at least 400. So this is obviously keeping in themes, and it's kind of similar stuff, getting beat on the run, getting beat on the pass. We gave up a huge kick return today to Raheem Mostert, who took it down to about the 18, and that was a huge play. But in the same way, I think there was the offense didn't get going in those middle quarters, and part of it, I think, was play calling a little bit. I mean, I think they were maybe trying to do a little bit too much. They seemed really dedicated to quick pass, bubble screen stuff when the run game was working. At least the run game seemed to be working relatively well. I mean, they did point out, Kevin was asked why not give the ball to Houston more, and he said, it was more kind of zone read stuff where the defensive end was crashing, and basically the general concept of the zone read option is mesh point, hand the ball to the running back. If the defensive end comes at you, you give him the ball. If he goes to the running back, you go. Like if he crashes, if he stays, then you give the ball up. If he crashes, you take it.
You keep it.
So they were crashing, basically. They were crashing, and it was a situation where he kind of had to, where Roberson was kind of put in the position that he was supposed to run the ball. That's why he took it 18 times.
Yeah, the players said the Purdue linebackers were funneling inside more too.
Right. So there was a bunch of things they were doing to keep the ball out of Houston's hands. But there were a few occasions where I wondered why they were throwing the ball on 1st and 2nd down.
Yeah, well,
because it doesn't seem like the bubble screen didn't really work so well.
And what you're saying about the bubble screen is right. And that, to me, more than even just run versus pass, to me it's horizontal versus vertical.
Right.
And when Indiana attacked vertically, that seemed to work pretty well, partially because Purdue felt like, it seemed to think like, that there's no Deweese Wilson, there's no Latimer, there's no guys that are really going to stretch us deep. Because Kofi Hughes is a heck of a weapon.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily somebody who's going to beat you deep all the time.
Yeah, the guys that were here.
And so if they're bringing that many hats up, it's going to be really hard to beat them laterally. And the only way you're really going to gouge them is to trap them or do something quick hit. Then the safety said, remember the time Indiana was down deep, and Trey overthrew Kofi, who was wide open behind the secondary, and it was
there was nothing there. That was
a touchdown.
Yeah,
and the reason he got open behind was because Purdue safeties were up.
Yeah,
and Purdue was playing wide instead of wide. They were playing horizontally instead of vertically on defense.
Sure, but I think it would have also helped if they're doing it in 2nd and short, 3rd and short. If they could get, because they would run the ball well, get ahead of the chains early. That's one thing you didn't see, is just be dedicated to running on 1st down.
Yeah,
they were also bringing some hats up, but didn't seem to matter all that much. I don't know. I mean, I don't call offensive plays for a living, obviously. There's reasons for that.
But it was interesting to see, kind of the chess match going and what Purdue was trying to take away, how Indiana could potentially hurt them.
And there were certain days where Purdue won that chess match.
Yeah, and there were times when Indiana hurt them.
But anyway, let's kind of move on from this one and kind of move forward now. Obviously, one way or another, however this game was going to end, this was going to be the last day of the 2011 season for Indiana. How much do you think it hurts that they go into this with a 9-game losing streak?
Yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, I think that a win today would have really kind of put some pizzazz into some of the very important offseason work that they're going to have to do. Then again, I think young players especially are pretty resilient. I think they know that they have a lot of football ahead of them. I think their motivation will be just fine. It would have been, it would have been better for the fans. It would have been better for everybody in the program. Just to
have some good feeling for everything.
Have a good feeling for all the hard work. You want to get some reward. You want to get some payback. Some payoff, I guess I should say. And they really didn't get that for 9 straight weeks. And so it's hard. It's hard to keep. But I think, especially with young players and as many young players as they played, that's really not going to be that big an issue.
Right. I guess what it says is the guys that were already bought in are still going to be bought in. You do wonder if there's some fringe guys that you could have won over here.
Maybe.
If there was there's a handful of guys that are kind of buying in, that are starting to see it and just aren't
Right.
quite there.
Yeah,
Because they've mentioned, even Kobe Hughes has mentioned, there's still guys that we have to get out here and really kind of push them every day.
Yeah.
The guys that are playing all the time, the Kofis, the Mark Murphys,
Right.
the Harden kids, those guys are pretty much bought in. I think it would have helped to get a few more guys in if they could have pulled a win.
A win
sometime in the last 9 weeks.
and
Beat
especially,
a FBS
and
team.
especially this one.
Sure.
For everything, all the connotations.
Because
it
it's Purdue.
brings. Yeah.
But we know they don't have that, and they have 10 months, 9 months, or something like that till they're out again. So we'll see, but we will stick with covering everything else and get more basketball. Anyway, stick with us. Thanks for everything, guys.
Thanks.